each of the groups, like what you have, what you're working on,
Okay.
Customers, yada yada, and from there we can jump into your questions.
Sounds good to me.
So my name is Bonnie Banducci. If you've been in Bakersfield for any amount of time, you might know the names from Banducci Farms or the Banducci Pumpkin Patch. I started my own marketing company as a web design company, but it's morphed into a online sales funnel with a theme of direct response. Direct response is using a systematic way to measure your results. So you can think of that as it used to be very common to have a mail order business. And what a mail order business is you send someone a package in the mail, and if they respond to your mailing piece, then you record that as a response. And so if you send out 100 mailing pieces and only 10 people respond to you, then you know with certainty that 10% of that sample will respond to your mailing piece. Hannah?
Hi, my name is Hannah Yuri, and I started my own marketing company as well called Exusio Marketing Consulting. I specialize in brand consultation, building brands from scratch, so I work with a lot of startups. I also work with businesses that have been in existence for 20, 30 years and need a complete rebranding, overhaul. I'm also a copywriter, so that goes hand in hand with branding. A lot of people don't know right off the bat about copywriting often enough. I usually get asked if I do copywriting, as in like logos and the legal aspect. That's not what it is. I literally craft messages, so it's just a fancy way of saying I write stuff. So that's cool. I like doing that. That's what I specialize in, and through my company, I offer all the typical marketing services, such as websites, logos, graphic design work, you name it. But what I specialize in is building a brand, so the strategy of it, what you need to do with it, and then crafting those messages for any stage that the business might be in.
So, do you want to just point groups out and they can introduce themselves?
Sure. Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you recording it?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Yes, I am. Hisham, what do you want to say?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this was when you started your before planning, like after planning of this, what you want to do. What was the first step you took, like to do your what was the first thing you did?
Like to get to
Your point, like to achieve like something or
Yeah.
Then what did you do to achieve that?
Okay, are you asking how to achieve the success, or how do I achieve?
First, how did you start it? Then how did you achieve it?
Okay. So
What was the first step? And
yeah. So my first step was a very foolish move. I left my IT job with no plan and
I know that one.
some aspiration to actually be a Java software developer, and moved from Bakersfield to Miami. That was very foolish. I don't recommend it. And so after months of retraining and trying to get jobs, I finally decided I already know how to build websites. I have a good understanding. And so I'm like, you know what? Instead of me looking for a job, I'm just going to start my own company. Since I might as well waste my time trying to look for work that actually comes to me than me just trying over and over again just to give me a chance. And so that's how I got my start. Through a lot of pivots, I now specialize in a very type of online marketing funnel that uses a methodology that was coined by Ryan Levesque, and it's called the ASK method. And to put it simply, it's simply asking your customers and your prospects, what's the number one biggest struggle that they're dealing with right now? And you basically are taking all those survey responses, analyzing them, and putting your marketing message so that it fits with your hyper responsive customers. So that's what I do now, and I'm very happy to do that type of work. Yeah.
I also was kind of foolish, but I think.
Are you recognizing a theme here? Because when I started my 2 companies, I was very foolish as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way.
It
Go ahead.
doesn't. No, learn from our mistakes, please, for the love of God. But no, I went to college and I got my degree. Towards the end of that, I started looking for jobs. Typical American dream experience. You know, you go to school, you think, okay, I'm gonna. Which, don't get me wrong, my degree has served me very well. Going to school is important, but doesn't guarantee a job. And especially here in Bakersfield, as a marketer, it was difficult for me to find a position, and no one wanted to take a chance on me because I was super green, straight out of college, and I had freelance experience, but nothing super crazy to show for my work. I knew that I loved what I wanted to do, but I had to find a way to get in, and so I figured, okay, I'll just start a company, and I did. I mean, it's really easy to start a business. Anyone can do it, but making it successful is really difficult. So what I did, to answer your question, to get me to where I am now is I put in a lot of hours, and I put in 15-hour days, 6 days a week for the first year of my business. You don't have to do that. That's where I was foolish. I sacrificed a year of my life to build something that I would be proud of, and I don't regret it completely, but there are definitely ways that I could have been more efficient, and so I would look for those ways to become more efficient. But yeah, I just spent a lot of time. I knocked on a lot of doors. I was willing to lower my prices just to get a really good job and then bump them up from there. So there's ways that, you know, just tricks of the trade that really you just have to get noticed and be willing to put in all of those hours to do it. So that was the turning point for me, but it took a year to get there. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Christian.
So based on your introduction, it sounds like you both did a lot of like web work, advertising, online, and things like that.
Not necessarily for me, no.
No?
For me, yes.
Well, I guess this is more specifically for you. There's a couple places in town that I've seen do advertising for like people I know or a job I have, like that kind of thing. And everyone does it a little differently. Have you found that it's more productive or like, yeah, that's a good word, to build something from the ground up or use something that's already like 75% done, like a WordPress or one of those?
I would take something that has already been built out either through a WordPress or using like a landing page builder like lead pages, optimizely. Since like you pay like $30 or $50 a month, and you get to build like whatever, and it's a great way for you to test out your ideas before investing thousands of dollars into a advertising agency or a developer. Yeah, but something that I would add is as far as like picking the right style of marketing, really know who your customers are, since the marketing that works here in Bakersfield is very different from what works online. So I deal with a lot of online businesses, but when it comes to doing a lot of marketing here in Bakersfield, it's still a lot of sales-based or in-person marketing.
So if we do group introductions, I need to give a little bit of, is that a question?
Oh, no.
Okay. No problem, Emmanuel. So we do group introductions. You're talking to 3 different classes over the course of these 2 weeks. 2 of them are entrepreneurship classes. This is a general business strategy class.
Oh, okay.
And it's the senior capstone. So everybody that gets a BA in business administration has to take one of the sections of this class before they graduate. So group-wise, we have 9 different groups working on case studies of different companies.
Okay.
So the marketing context here is more of a large firm environment. Next week is going to be more entrepreneurial.
Okay.
So I'll let the groups, starting here with Leslie, right?
Yeah.
with Leslie describe what companies they're focusing on, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
I'm doing wonderful pistachios and citrus.
Oh, okay. They're actually my client on a local basis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where the rest of my group is. Oh, there she is. She's in there.
Louisa, also doing wonderful interview.
Oh, okay. Cool. So what case study or what are you guys working on?
Basically like internal and external drivers and stuff like that. Orders by forces and
So, if I can jump in and explain that a little bit, there's not a specific case study.
Okay.
We make the case study up ourselves. It's a real life case study. So I teach them about 13 or 14 different tools for analysis that they then apply in a big paper at the end of the semester.
Okay.
So we've talked about market sizing, we've talked about customer segmentation, we've talked about just generally how to do a profile of your target customer. From a marketing point of view, that's most of what we worked on. We've worked on other things like Porter's 5 forces and driving forces of change and mission, vision, goals, like the whole 9 yards of strategy. But when it comes to marketing, they're really putting together a profile of target customers in different segments, doing some market sizing on how large are those potential markets, and then doing a market positioning map against the competition.
Got it.
Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
That's the main things that this class is doing with respect to marketing. It'll be very different in the other two classes, but this one is more of a big picture strategy. So, Ariel.
Christian, our other people are AWOL right now. We're doing it on Nintendo. Our group's interesting because we were kind of theorizing a couple weeks back that I think we're the group where each individual person, when we gave our backgrounds, had the fewest number of people who were identical in their backgrounds. Like it wasn't like 5 accounting, and then you put all the accountants together and have them do on a similar project. We seem to have the biggest degree of difference in everybody, but we ended up picking Nintendo for our project, and it's a little bit harder to find their financials because everything's in Japanese on easily accessible pages. So you have to dig a little bit and then find their translated stuff.
Next group.
I'm Jose.
I'm Christina. I'm Stephanie.
Jose. Martha.
We're doing Macy's, and we're kind of on the same boat with him. We're not have a diverse group where everybody can have their thing. She's in
Just wondered.
I'm here to read stories. Thank you. And we ended up picking Macy's just because we have such a diverse group that we can actually apply a little bit of everything. And so far, so good.
Stephanie and Brent, your group will come around this way. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yes, Group G. I totally forgot. Please, introductions and your focus company. So introduce yourselves and say what.
Chase Matter?
Chase Bank?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And since everybody is feeling shy about introductions, going clockwise from here, it's Khalid, Carlos, Ali, and Hisham.
Okay.
And then now we get to you guys.
So I'm Stephanie, and then this is,
I'm Bruce.
and then we have 2 other members, but they're not here. But we're doing a creative artist agency, and basically, I mean, I like it. I'm towards sports marketing, so I think that's something that the rest of our group is also into. So far so good.
So we actually have a diverse group. We have 1 marketing, 2 finances, 1 management, and 1 HR. My name's Armando. We're doing Amazon. Aziz. And then we're missing one person.
Ahmad is who we're missing. Okay.
And your company is?
Amazon, right?
If we were listening.
Go ahead, folks.
I'm Lorena. I'm Marisol. And the rest of our group is right here. We have a group with accountants and one marketing, and we're working on our case study on round.com, the CPA strategy.
And I'm Candace.
Melissa.
I'm Carlos.
And we're focusing on Ulta, and we're all accounting.
Oh, okay. I'm Noah. I'm Erica.
I'm Emmanuel.
My name's Anish, and we chose a real estate company, Remax. We're all pretty diverse too. Love business, I'm a major.
I'm a general business major.
I'm general business and then marketing.
So does that give you an idea of
Yeah,
what
there's a
the
lot
groups are
going on
focusing on?
here.
I've got a bunch of questions here for you. Too. Normally, if like you guys were more responsive and faster than I'm accustomed to. So normally I have all the students prepare questions and then I send them to you the weekend before, so that you can read the questions before you come here. Unfortunately, I have the questions, but they're right here. So, do you want to address some of the groups and the general case study focus that we have before I go into the questions?
Well, is there a problem that any of you guys are having that you, I mean, because we're both marketers in very different sense, so
Very different.
after our little brief introductions, if there's any questions for your projects or companies or whatever that you guys need help with, yeah.
We're having problems finding.
You guys have Ulta, right?
Yes,
Okay.
the customer segments, like the breakdown
Yeah.
of like maybe we were looking at women and their age group and also men, but we couldn't find it. Just the information I found, it just groups all the customers into one and doesn't really break it down.
How are you finding your?
It was one of the U.S. Census, one of the websites. I don't remember what the website.
It'd probably be American Fact Finder,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any
the Census
resources?
Bureau website, looking at the.
Yes.
My default is using the Facebook advertising platform because you can see what people are, their different interests in the different behaviors that they have. So interest could be things like you can narrow it down by gender, age group, and topic for behaviors or stuff like people who have recently moved, they're getting married, just got a house, kids, home, and so there's all that wealth of information, and so that may help you to get more specific
Right.
information. It's not. There is a margin of error since it's what people report, what they like on the Facebook. It's what people how they use their credit cards or their loyalty cards. It's how people are using the web, since with Facebook advertisers they have this tracking pixel, and so if you're logged on Facebook, it's keeping track of which websites you're going to.
Right.
So if it notices that you are someone who is going to a lot of wedding sites, then they're going to group you into that group of people. If you're someone who's looking at a lot of real estate for investment, they're going to group you into that type of behavior.
Okay.
So it's a very powerful tool.
And you said it was Facebook advertising?
Yeah.
Bonnie, if I can jump in with a little bit of context here.
Yeah.
So, all of these groups, in Elisa's case, she actually is an intern at Wonderful, and they're doing a case study on Wonderful. But in most cases, all of these student groups are studying companies that they don't work for. It's a hypothetical case analysis. So I think something that would be very useful is, I've basically told them, look, think about the kind of customers this company has. Think about the natural ways to segment them into different segments, and then use the Census Bureau's information to do some sizing on how big is this market in Bakersfield or in California or whatever. So I think sources of public information about different target customer groups. You know, obviously, if Ulta is doing Facebook marketing, they have access to all the reporting. I'm not sure what this group has access to, given the fact that they're just doing a third-party case study on Ulta. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Another online tool is SpyFu. So spy is in like I'm spying on you, and then FU. Wow. Sorry. I did not think about that one. .com. I should have been that. And there is a free feature of it, and then there's one that you can pay for. But the free one it's more of an SEO basis, and so it'll tell you who's shopping on their site, like just broad general demographics.
oh, cool.
And yeah, so it's a
And
really
you can
good
point
tool to have.
SpyFu at a certain site?
Yeah, you
very
just
cool.
type it in. Now, there's limited information that it'll give you with the free version of it, but I mean, I wouldn't pay for it if I were you, for just a case study for one class.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it'll tell you actually, so like Sephora would be a competitor, correct? So it'll tell you who ranks higher in the form of like SEO, things like that. So maybe it'll give you a little bit of customer segmentation information, like just broad demographics, and it'll give you some other SEO information, but you're just going to have to look through it and go through it, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
It's SpyFu?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
And there's a couple other platforms really similar to it, but I like their platform because they'll give you some free information, and then you have to buy more, whatnot. But for what you guys are doing, it would be enough. Okay, yeah.
So let me dive into some of the questions the students put together. Again, these are a little bit bigger picture questions, but let me switch from the case analysis to some general questions. So Jesus over here, that introduced himself before, had a question. Do you remember your question?
Somewhat.
I can read it off if you don't remember it well.
Sure.
Do you think marketing is more successful through social media? Does every business need a multi-channel marketing strategy to be successful?
That's a good question. I'm going to start with the social media side of it, since I'll always get questions of like, how many social media accounts do I actually need? Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, if you can handle one, put all your effort into one. If you can have 2 or 3, put all your effort into those channels. Don't worry about having be on every channel. Even though there are certain internet marketing gurus that will tell you like you got to be everywhere. It's more about the consistency and the quality that you are bringing. It's knowing like where you are. With that said, I do a lot of email marketing. That's different than probably like what most people are used to. I build relationships with the people who are on the email list, and I position my email marketing in a way that pushes people who don't want to be on off. I'm polarizing, and some people, they don't like that, but I want the people who are engaged and on my email list to be the ones who are like all in, I love you, and the people who are kind of like lukewarm to hit the road, right? And so that's another channel that you can look at. So it's more about that you are consistent in the relationship that you have with either the platform or your list.
Mm-hmm. I would say, where are your customers? What do they favor? So you guys are doing Amazon, right? Have you guys looked at Amazon social media? So maybe do that.
Go to their Facebook page. Go to their LinkedIn page.
Do they have an Instagram? I have Amazon Prime, and I don't even follow them on social media. But I don't know. Where are their customers? What are their customer segments? What are the demographics? And then those demographics are going to lead you towards. We have a larger, an older audience on Facebook now than we used to. It used to be college kids. We all know how Facebook started, right? So now we have Instagram. That's a completely different platform. And then we have all these other things coming out. There's Snapchat. I doubt if they're on Snapchat. Just look, right? Where are the customers at? And then that would tell you, I think if you need to, so not just for Amazon, but a broader question, I think is what your question was of what do I need to do for my business as far as social media, right? Like, do I need to be on one or all of them? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So same answer. Where are your customers? And it's going to change from business to business, from industry to industry, your age group, whatnot. So it really comes down to knowing your customer and who's going to be buying your product or service. And if they're not keen on Facebook, maybe they're more keen on Instagram, then you don't need both. You're going to be wasting money or time and effort on one that no one cares about. Don't do it. Do the one, be present where your customers are present. So I hope that answers your question.
We got a bunch of great questions here. Does anybody have one, like a hand they want to throw up? Otherwise, like a lot of you put questions together. Anish, go ahead. Otherwise, I got a bunch of questions here that are really good that they wrote up for you guys.
Oh,
Go ahead, Anish.
Kind of following off my question. Now, when you market on various different types of social media, is there a certain? Does each one have its own marketing technique? Like, for instance, Twitter, since it's only 160 characters, would you just focus on like small words, whereas Facebook, people.
This is more you.
Yeah, each platform has its own rhythm, and if you're not within that rhythm, people will ignore you. So if you're just spamming people on like Facebook versus if you're just constantly putting content out on Twitter, that's normal. But do that on Facebook, like it's annoying. So you really have to understand what's the psychology of the consumer and match your marketing to that platform. So that's also true to say that there used to be a time that people would have the same updates on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, like everywhere, and they have it all automated. I push people away from that because you're not matching that rhythm with each of the platforms. Now you can syndicate your content, so you can create content once and you tweak it and modify it so that way it does match that rhythm. So a example of syndication is you can record a episode of like a video podcast, right? And then you can rip the audio and put that as a podcast, and then you can have clips of the video on Instagram. And so you did something once, but then you hire someone to pretty much break into marketing pieces that you can use over and over again.
So we've got a bunch of great questions. So I'm going to just kind of go down the list with the time that we have. Lily, I had a good question here. Lily Dickerson, what is the hardest part about direct marketing, or the hardest step in the direct marketing process if it's used within your company?
The hardest part?
Uh-huh.
Maybe the most important part. Maybe.
I think that the hardest part for any business is just answering the key questions. Who are you? Who are your customers? What's your product or service? How does that help your customer? Surprisingly, it's really hard to answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Since a lot of times people, they don't know what their customer is actually going through, what their pain points are. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people don't even know who they are. And
well, they can't articulate it well, at least.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest and say that I'm still figuring out who I am as a person. But as I grow with my experiences, mm-hmm. my marketing reflects that. My marketing sees that I'm a person with pain points and struggles. Use your struggles to communicate why your solution is the best solution. Especially if your struggle matches with the struggles of your customers, they connect with that. They understand it. They're like, that's me. And they see that if you went through the struggles 5 years ago and you have this solution, they're like, I don't want to go through all that. Here, I'll give you $100 or a few $1,000 to rid me of all this struggle mm-hmm. and show me the way, right? So the hard part is really just answer those key questions. And probably some meta context is knowing who you are.
I think also, even if you have all those answers, communicating it to your client or to your target audience, that is a bit of a broader answer because it gets into copywriting, or which there's also, the opening line in the email, and that gets into some other stuff, but also knowing how to communicate it, which is ties back into knowing their pain points. If you've ever gone through that yourself, or if you can understand it, whatever it is, that crafts your actual message and would make them more apt to read it all the way through instead of the first word.
Yeah. And if anyone wants a good book to read on direct response marketing, Brian Kurtz, he just came out with a new book. He's one of the pioneers of the publishing behemoth called Boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically takes all the masters of the past 100 years and condenses it into a very digestible tome. Previously, all the other different advertising, copywriting, marketing books, they are very dense. They're very hard to read. But the book, The Advertising Solution by Brian Kurtz, is very digestible. You can read it in a few days, and it's actually entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's actually a nice segue then, because Christina had asked a similar question. Do you remember your question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I asked what book have you read that actually helped you out throughout your career? Because I'm on that aspect right now. I'm reading books, trying to help myself, like by yourself, and I noticed that when you actually read positive books that others have read, it actually ends up helping you a lot.
Yeah. The book that I just really recommended is a good book, especially if you're going into copywriting. But probably the one that I've taken the most from, and I keep on reading year after year, is called The Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. Eugene Schwartz is one of the masters of the past. It's very dense. It's only maybe 150 pages, but it's one of those books that it is a gold mine. I actually traded one of my services, which was about $300, for someone to go and buy me the book, because the supply is so short on that book.
Oh, wow.
That at one point people were selling for like $800 on eBay.
Wow.
So, but
you had to plan ahead to buy this book.
Can I have your copy?
Over my dead body, I'm gonna be my cryptist. Like, nope, it's mine. Yeah. I read a lot of books. Probably the next one after that is more about selling and pitching. Oren Cloth, Pitch Anything. I think that's a really good book, especially if you're going into business, if you want to convince anyone that pretty much anything, it doesn't matter if it's in personal life or your business life. Really good book, and it actually parallels a lot of copywriting principles.
Well, the crazy part is that I'm actually going to school for human resource, which is what I'm going into directly to. But right after that, I'm going into back to my own business, which is singing, performing. So I'll actually be doing my own stuff. Okay.
Books are great, but I actually watch a lot of TED Talks. Yeah, so I find that I've approached my business very differently. I have a degree, I read the books, I do all that, but I have found that the biggest thing that has helped my business, how I market, how I relate to people, is just understanding them. So I would watch TED Talks based on the psychology of buying or the psychology of selling, or just anything that gets you inside their head or helps you just understand what you do, why you do it, and as far as buying, purchasing, or just the demographics and how different people group move towards one item or one particular service, or it just, I don't know. Plus, TED Talks are easier to watch than reading a book. I'm an avid reader and I'm a copywriter, so I'm not knocking books, but you get just a plethora of information. So, yeah.
I'm gonna one up you on if you can afford it, this is probably the best way to get the best information and shortcut your success. Pay to play. So if you find someone that you really like, either how they market, how they operate in their business, even if they're not someone who's like an informational marketer, who's someone who's selling courses and all that, if you can find a way to basically pay them for their time, that will shortcut your success. Now, not everyone's going to be open to that, but if you're relentless and you keep going at it, if you can show that the time and money that you're going to invest with them is going to be worth it as the master, then that's like the best shortcut.
That's what I'm doing right now, obtaining, like, trying to find a mentor.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going towards right now.
Yeah, and
I'm trying to get myself more involved. I mean, because I do have a lot of great opportunities coming my way, but it's just like making yourself focus in that direction and going at it.
yeah, and like
That's why I'm like trying to do a little bit of reading, trying to find a mentor, trying to see everything, videos, trying to get myself involved.
I think Bonnie's point too, and Hisham has a question. Just 1 second, Hisham. I think Bonnie's point is, to the extent that it's possible and that you can open the conversation, asking your mentors, asking expert advisors, kind of like these folks, not just what do you suggest that I do, but can you do it for me if I pay you, is a conversation that can yield a lot of good benefits. Am I paraphrasing well?
a little bit like my advice is just that you can get that conversation started, because as business owners, like we want to work with people who invest in us, in each other, and for people that don't do that, they want to pick our brains. They're not going to spend as much time on you, but if you show that, hey, I want to invest in you, yeah.
What I did when I was first starting out, like I said earlier, I would lower my prices. And so I would find someone who I wanted to work with, someone who had already, put in their time and got to where I wanted to be. I would just say, hey, I'll do freelance work for you, or I'll do, this job that you don't want, and like I'll cut it by 50%, so that it's literally pennies to them. I make a couple bucks, but really that's not the point. The point is the learning experience, because they're going to be more invested in that it's their client or it's their job. And honestly, in my case, they really didn't hand me anything too crazy huge, but they saw that I was hungry, and they saw that I was willing to put in just as much time and effort for less monetary reward, but really it was the knowledge and the experience and the relationship, the community that I was building with them. So.
Hisham, what was your question?
What was the major risks that you have to go through your career, and how did you resolve them?
Major risks? Not having a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
Paying my bills on a monthly basis.
Having flaky clients or clients that don't pay the bills on time.
Yes. Yeah. That's hard.
So something that I'm actually changing in my business is I'm creating additional sources of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
That way, one is showing that the work that I do works, but also so that can be my main source of income. And for anyone that wants me to either do it for them or do it with them, I'm not relying on the clients to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I can breathe easier. I can go to sleep at night, and so that way, the pressure isn't on the client. And when you put the pressure on the client, a lot of times they sense your desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a different way of balancing out how you do business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Not just relying on one client or a group of clients, or always seeking out the next one of like, if I could just get this job, or if I could just get a bigger client. Having additional sources of income, but within still your sphere of influence, within your industry, that goes a long way. Yeah.
Let me just. I'm trying to pick a nice next one here. Here we go, Candace. You remember your question?
Yeah, I was just curious if mail, like physical mail and mailboxes, advertising that way, if that's becoming obsolete, or if it's still, has it declined since social media?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's obsolete. Direct mail is still really important. There's still a lot of small local businesses that get a lot of business from that. There's, like Like I have a client at G&G Auto here in town. He's just on a local basis. He has a couple locations, and it goes back to what you offer as a business and who your customers are. It's not, direct mail might be a complete waste for one business and totally rewarding for another business. So it really just depends on that. But I wouldn't say that it's obsolete. I mean, this local client that I have, he spends quite a bit of money on it, but he gets huge returns on it. But I have other clients who I would never recommend that. So it really comes down to who you are, what you're selling, and who you're selling to.
And you mentioned money, so is that type of advertising more expensive than the social media aspect?
It can be, because it's a physical product. It's paper. I mean, you're paying for the postage, you're paying for the printing, the design, you're doing all of that.
Well, unless you would have a digital thing.
No, but mailing something is what she's asking. So yeah, it is definitely, it's really expensive.
Yeah, well, jokes aside, like in direct response, I will pay as much money to acquire a new customer as long as the cost to acquire them is less than my expenses. And so with a lot of direct response businesses, the front end sale or that initial sale, as long as the lifetime value of that customer is far greater than what it costs to acquire that customer, then I will pay as much as possible. So even if you're at a loss on that first sale, if you have other back-end deals, then that $10 or $15 loss won't really matter if you know what your numbers are. But a lot of people, they don't know what their numbers are. And they're just operating on that front-end sale over and over again. Instead of doing that front-end sale, building that relationship, and so over the next 1 to 5 years, the customer buys again and again in bigger deals.
So I think a good example, just to make this a little more concrete, I mean, you know, we're all getting deluged right now by like advertisements for various propositions on the ballot. You also, I always get new coupons for. I get deluged every week with coupons for pizza and stuff like that. If I send out $1,000 worth of flyers, for example, and I get just one person that responds, but that person that company, that person, whoever I'm looking for, ends up spending $3,000 with me over the next 5 years, then it was worth it to waste the other, all of the flyers except that one because of the value of the customer. Yeah. And it just depends on, a lifetime value of a pizza customer is probably not $5,000 over 3 years. So it's not a very good example. But if for example you have a consulting business that one new client is usually $5,000 to $10,000 for a good solid project, and you blitz all of the businesses that might be your customers with a nice professional looking brochure, and only one of them says yes. If you spent a couple grand on those nice looking brochures and one person said yes, you spent $1,000 or $2,000 to get a customer that's worth $5 or $10. Another good question here from Christina Hernandez. Is Christina here? I thought she's usually sitting right there. I've been trying to focus on questions of the people that are here, but this is a good one in general for everybody. What kind of skills did you develop in order to become successful in the marketing field? What kinds of jobs would you recommend for students who are interested in marketing? So you're talking to a bunch of seniors right now who are about to go out and start their careers.
Yeah. I'll let you lead.
Sure. That's a two-part answer for me, because skills, you don't always get those from a job. Being nice to people and smiling and being approachable, I think, is the biggest thing in business. Me as a consultant, being approachable is huge. I need to be able to connect with people at mixers. I need to be able to connect, just have pretty basic social skills. You can definitely get those as far as in a job setting. You can definitely get those in customer service. That's always handy. But I think even more than social skills and being able to talk to people, customer service is really great because you get to see the behind the scenes of providing products and service to a customer. And then also you get to see conflicts, you get to see unhappy customers, you get to see how those are resolved. But skills overall in general, just I think being approachable, especially in whether you are interviewing for a job, whether you're going to be starting a business, either way, I mean, I work for my clients. Like, yeah, I'm a boss, I'm my own boss, but I'm not really. I have 20, 30 different bosses, and they're all my clients. So being able to connect with them on a personal level, I think, is huge, and I think customer service is a really good area to get that. If that can be anywhere, really. Any job. It can be in Taco Bell, it could be at the movie theater. Whatever you're doing, don't knock small beginnings or anything like that. Skills can be had from any experience, I think.
Yeah. My pathway to get to where I am is I've learned a lot on the job. I've learned a lot by making key decisions. So when I went to school, I was a art major. I built metal sculptures and did photography, and it was fun. But I also learned on the side how to write code, how to design web pages, et cetera, et cetera. But then after I started my business, I asked the key question of what's the one skill that will touch as many parts of a business as possible. And what I found was copywriting. Copywriting is about salesmanship. It's about knowing your customer, about knowing your product. Without copywriting, your business will sink. I've had designers and developers try to make the case that we need them, and we do, but without the copy, without the message, everything's going to fall flat. Since I can give you a white piece of paper with black ink with a sales message, and if that gets you to pull out your credit card and buy from me, then that's more effective than if I have like a page with just like shapes that don't really tell you anything. So I think copywriting is a good skill, at least to understand what it is and what it can do for your business. Next thing is probably just being invested in your own self. Since having the right habits and the right skills to make you a high-functioning human being, working out, knowing how to talk and present, I'm a constant project on myself. I have a speech impediment. In 5 years, I will be a keynote at some conference. And so just being able to work on yourself and picking the skill that you believe is going to take you the farthest in your career, I think is really important. For some people, that's being a technical person, someone who's dealing with the technology side of things. For other people, that is the human side of a business. And for some, it's doing accounting. And so pick the skill set that you think will mean the most to you in the business that you are interacting with, and just stick with it. Be consistent. It's not going to happen in your first year. Think 5-10 years from now.
Yeah. I wish it happened in
Jump
my
in for a
first
second.
year.
Bonnie, I'm not, like, you're talking to a general swath of business students here.
Yeah.
So can you explain what copywriting is for a second? We're not talking about like registering the rights to intellectual property with the
No,
U.S.
that's what I was trying to
Copyright
explain
Office.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a copywriter, so I don't do the licensing. That's not what you're talking about.
No. All right.
Just
So
to
there's
clarify.
copywriting and copyright. Copyright with an
Yeah.
R is intellectual property. Copywriting is the use of words and text to transmit a message. So that can be on your website. That can be in the mail. It's just basically words on the page to sell something. It's not fluff. It's basically to get you emotionally engaged, to get you to respond to a specific call to action.
Yeah, to an extent.
Oh, and then and there's also like script writing, since there's webinars and videos that the skills of copywriting actually translate into those different types of mediums, since even before a camera or a storyboard is written, you need to know what's the words, what's the message that you're trying to get, or what's the result that you want to get from this medium.
Copywriting is really broad. It's sales, it's feel good, but it all does come down to that one thing of having whoever your target audience is, having that person buy something, right? But at the same time, that's not how I approach it. I'm very different from most copywriters in that I don't approach what I write for the purpose of making a sale. I know that's probably how I should, but I don't. And I find that works for me. It might work differently for if there's anyone interested in writing in here, but I don't know. It might work differently for you guys or other copywriters, but for me, I pay attention to who I'm writing to, who I'm writing for. Yes, my client pays my bills, but at the same time, I have to do right by them, and I have to do right by the person who's going to be reading my content. So depending on what platform that content is going to end up on, for example, like a website, like the homepage of a website, just find a local business, anything, doesn't matter. Look at their homepage and think about, how does this make me feel? Go somewhere that you would actually use their services. So whether it's a mechanic, whether it's a real estate agent, well, maybe you guys won't be using a real estate agent yet, but literally anything that you guys would use, and go to their homepage, look at the first sentence on there. How does that make you feel? Is it stupid? Does it make no sense? Is it in all caps? Is it relatable? Do you guys feel drawn in towards this business? That's copywriting. That's just one platform, just one example, but how it makes you feel, how you respond to it. Is there no response? Because that's also a response. That's my approach to copywriting, at least. Yes.
Did you guys bring any examples of your work?
No, but I can give you a bunch of websites for my actual work, of websites that I've done. For example, I'm working on a real estate one right now, and she's also a broker, but she's very small, local. She's not huge. She's not like Watson Realty, and that's not her brand. So sitting down with coffee and talking with her, and she's like, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to look like them. That's not who I am. So I have to, one, understand her brand, what she wants to communicate, and then find a way to communicate that with very specific wording. And then just because we're on the topic of websites, but then also trying to boost her SEO with keywords and things like that. But first and foremost, relating to her clients. So that's the beauty of copywriting for me. I like connecting, and I like making people have this response that's more than just, I'm going to pay money to you. It's more, I feel like I have a connection with this business. I feel like they're going to get me. Because that's really how we think when we're shopping online. We don't necessarily think, oh, wow, I feel like I'm really connected to this business and they understand me. No, it's just, oh, I really like the aesthetics, or I really like their product, I really like their vibe, I like their feel. And so we don't think about that as consumers necessarily, but that's my job. That's the whole point of why I write, is to get people to say, I don't know why, but I just like this vibe. I just feel drawn to them. So, yeah, that's another area of copywriting, and that's what I do at least.
Yeah, and to give you like a counter example, so that's her point of view. My point of view, it was
copywriting is so broad.
And
it's so broad.
Opinionated. But with my copywriting, I wanted to punch you in the gut. Really, I want to get your attention and make you feel the pain that you're already feeling. And so there are more aggressive forms of copywriting, and there's more softer forms. And it's just really about going back to who's your customer, what they're going through, using the right language.
The right vocabulary, definitely.
Yeah, and when you get into the more advanced copywriting stuff, you'll find out it could be a single word that either attracts someone or repels them.
Mm-hmm. No response is still a response. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another good question from Carlos. Do you remember what yours was?
No, I don't.
I've got it here. It's a good one. What motivates you to do what you do?
It's not money. Money's good, but it's not money. I like connecting with people. I like telling stories, and that's what I see my job as a brand consultation business is really what I have. Like, I offer all these other services, but what I do is I tell stories, and I help people tell their story. And that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy working with small local businesses, startups, or businesses that have been in existence for 30 years or whatever it may be. that's why I do what I do. I do it because I want to do something different, and I'm not satisfied with just the same generic stuff that everyone sees. I mean, those big clients are awesome, like Burger King. Like, if I could land Burger King, I mean, that'll never happen. But how cool would that be? If I landed them, I would do something completely different. Why? Because let's be creative. That's why I do what I do. I like telling stories, and I like doing something different with my time and taking a risk on creative concepts and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and you never know. Maybe you could strike gold and change history.
Yeah, I'm all about creating systems and solving complex problems. I don't usually work well with small businesses because their problems are simple. I can tell them do this, this, and this, and you're done. Just go and execute, measure, improve. But with a lot of the clients that I work with, they're either in some type of consultancy or they're the person of the business. They're the person that works with every client, and they want to productize and make it so that their business is actually scalable. And so being able to solve that big problem of, okay, you've been doing this person-to-person, belly-to-belly for the past 2 to 5 years. We need to take you and put you into product and everything that you're about into words and the messaging, so that way you can get reliable sales month after month. That way the business owner isn't the one who has to be working 15, 16-hour days, work on very little sleep, in addition to being a part of different organizations. And so just being able to put together a system so that people can start living the dream of being a business owner.
Another good question from Elisa over here. You remember what yours was? What points should a person consider when designing their personal brand?
Let's see. Actually, I was talking about this with a young man yesterday, actually. And so if you mean in context of, do you mean context of how you present yourself, or? Yeah. Okay. So, and I interpret that as like your style, how you talk, right? Okay. So, I always tell people to have a core identity. Figure out how you want to be, and also compare how you see yourself, how you want to dress, compared to how people perceive you. So, if you are someone who is in a male-dominated industry, and you're wearing a lot of like softer clothes, softer tones, while everyone else is a little more progressive, a little more testosterone-driven, you might need to curb your branding to match that. Since if you're dressed more casual than what the industry is used to, there's a little bit of incongruency. So you might not know, but every day I don't wear a suit. I'm in t-shirts and jeans like almost every day. But when I'm out, when I go to events like this is my personal style. I'm dressed up. I reflect my business name, which is Ida Tailors. So you get a tailored suit. And I even tell people like how you can dress like this for really cheap. And so it's more about having a few key like a core style and core words that you always return to, no matter if you're in casual, business casual, or formal wear. So for me, that's this color blue. I often have like red as a accent. And I usually have wear Tom shoes with my suits. Like I'm the guy that wears a suit, and I have Tom shoes. So it's just defining who you are and knowing what you're comfortable with, but also be aware of if you want to be in a certain industry, if you want to do a certain type of job, to be aware of what's the message that you are transmitting by your presence, by the clothes that you are wearing.
I think it's really important to dress professionally, and that's great and everything, but at the same time, don't sacrifice who you are and what you believe in just to play the game. I did that the first year of my business, and to be completely honest, it really didn't pay off. It really didn't. What it did for me was confuse my personal brand. So yeah, it's really important to dress professionally. It's really great to do that, and there is a point where you do have to play the game a little bit. But at the same time, I have gotten more business, and I have made more genuine, real connections by being myself. And obviously, I'm not going to make an inappropriate joke with a client or something like that. Like, I'm not going to treat them how I treat my friends. But at the same time, I'm still going to be genuine. I'm still going to be true to who I am. That's your brand. You are your brand, your personal brand. So if you want to wear those soft colors, I wear those soft colors. Doesn't matter. And in fact, a great example would be getting ready for this today. I had on a pencil skirt, heels, and a blouse. I changed. Why? Because that's not me. Your personal brand is who you are. So you do represent yourself. And it's great to be professional. But you are you. And the world needs that. So I wouldn't take playing the game to such an extreme of losing who you are or confusing your brand, because that's what it did for me. It confused my personal brand, and because my business is my brand, it caused my business to have brand confusion, and that is like terrible. It'll kill your business. When I stopped doing that, I changed the photos on my website. I changed the different things like that. I thought I had to have photos that were like those stupid real estate photos. You know what I mean? You know, those right there. If that's your style, that's your style. That wasn't my style. And it's obvious. Even if people don't know you, they can tell that you're not being genuine, even if you have good intentions. So be true to your brand. Figure out your identity, figure out who you want to be, what you want to represent, and represent it.
Denise.
Sort of want to different brand names, like for those who want to start their own company, they have to pick their name for that company. Is choosing names that are a little more difficult to pronounce?
Like Exusia?
Does it make it a little bit more difficult, or a little bit, for instance, I want to open up a hotel one day, and if I were to pick a name that was a little bit more difficult to say, does that reflect on the business at all, or?
Your branding is what you make it. Take Apple. Really? Apple? Why not? I get Excusia all the time. I have no problem saying, oh, that's hilarious. No, it's actually Exusia. And it's a really good talking point. So your branding, as long as it's solid, as long as it's firm, as long as it's, you know your identity, you know the brand, you know what you're representing, and you're consistent in it, the name is the name. Apple is a perfect example. It's a fruit. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you can always change your name.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now I just started a new project, and I spent 2 hours just picking a name that would be nice and simple, but I don't have to stay with that name like a year from now. If I decide that a new name or a new brand is what that project needs, I'll change it. Like it's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Just as long as you make that transition smoothly, then it's fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm sure you're still consistent. Yeah.
So I haven't even gotten through a quarter of the questions, and we've got about 5 minutes left. Is there anybody that has a question that hasn't been gotten to? Stephanie.
I have a question about your sales technique. So, do you still practice in front of the mirror, or if not, what do you do to prepare yourself? Like, do you have a ritual or something before you go out there?
I used to.
Yeah. No, done.
When I first started.
A lot of my sales are done over the phone or a Skype, since I talk with people from New York, Ohio, so I have very few in-person interviews. I do, if I'm on the phone, I do try and stand up because that helps with speaking and talking. But at this point, I don't really think about it anymore. If I really encourage anyone who who's looking at sales or learning how to present better is to get that book, Pitch Anything by Oren Cloth. It's really good. Like, I can't push it enough. Yeah.
I used to practice, but really what I figured out was that it all comes down to knowing your product or service. And if you know that, you're good. There's nothing really to practice. So.
Yeah. Oh, and by the time people get to me, they're already mostly pre-qualified and they know what they're getting. So I don't have to sell as much. I just talk about, here are my qualifications. This is what I do. This is how much I charge. And if they don't go like me, then all right, great, we're good.
I'll actually contribute a little bit more to that. Since my job is public speaking, first and foremost. And how many people in here watch the presidential debates? Okay, so you've got two, regardless of people's politics and all of the craziness going on, you've got two very different speaking styles there, and there's a balance to be struck, and this goes for personal selling. It doesn't just go for public speaking, but I tend to be pretty comfortable in front of crowds. I tend to be pretty comfortable interacting with people, so I tend to under-prepare at times for this class, for any not that I don't care about you guys and I don't prepare carefully, but things that are second nature to me are not necessarily second nature to you, and I need to drill them and communicate them in a certain way. And I would say, even though I know these things like the back of my hand, in this format, and certainly when it comes to certain selling situations as well, if you rehearsing something over and over again, so that it's second nature, and then if we take the two debaters as examples, Donald could practice a little bit more, and Hillary could be a little less stiff, So Hillary is extremely polished and practiced, but I think letting that go about a day or two before the presentation and just owning it so that it's all up here memorized and you're not repeating things robotically. You're delivering it as yourself. It's important to be in the moment when you're presenting things publicly, and be genuine, be yourself. But the more you practice, so that without even thinking about it, you linger on certain topics, you emphasize certain words. You don't want to be thinking about that while you're presenting, but the more that you practice beforehand, I've found a lot. I could practice a lot more, and it improves the quality of what I deliver to you guys. So I will add an additional perspective to the two up here, as somebody who stands up in front of class, several times per week and has to repeat things. So even though we have kind of a conversational style in here, and I think the general vibe is a very comfortable one, sometimes I don't get the point across as well as I could, because I don't rehearse enough beforehand. Even though we all get along really well and the vibe is good, the message that I wanted to send to you guys would have been better if I had practiced more sometimes. And with that, it's 2:11. We have 4 minutes left. Does anybody have another question that wasn't addressed that you want to get to?
Right here?
Yep, Emmanuel.
What's the single most important piece of advice that you could give to someone in our shoes right now? Seniors in college that are going to be graduating either this quarter or next quarter. And relating to career, and I guess you could say life in general. So basically stepping out into the world as a real adult.
I would say take a calculated risk. So go out in the world and try things. You're not going to get it right the first time or first several times, but with each experience that you have, that's going to compound itself until you find that right opportunity. That over all that experience is when you find the right opportunity, it's going to fit. And I say calculated risk, as in don't lose your shirt. so you're really getting out of your comfort zone, but still keep in mind that you still have to pay bills and live.
What kind of job are you looking for? Are you in marketing, financial? What is it? I don't know.
I'm in general business.
Okay.
Right now, I'm actually working as a work study at the Bakersfield National Cemetery. So, I guess you could say right now I'm kind of doing like administrative work. So,
Would you like to own a business? Is that your goal?
Yeah, I would. But at this point, I feel like the world is my oyster. So, I don't want to be. I want to take risks, but I don't want to be too crazy. But at the same time, like, I don't have any children. I don't have any real expenses. So I feel like if I were to take risks, now would be the perfect time to do so because it would pay off in the long run.
Okay. I would say don't be generic. Don't be generic. Don't be afraid to take a creative risk, which is so in administration. There's a million different ways to perform one task, right?
Correct.
Question it. Why is this being performed the way that it's being performed? Do you have a better way? Why not? Why can't that be the new norm? So try it. Don't be generic. Question the system. Question what you're being taught at work or what you're being. I'm not saying to necessarily always go against authority because there's wisdom to be gained, but at the same time, we are the next generation for a reason. You have ideas and thoughts that are important and valid, and some of them are going to crash and burn, and some of them are going to be great. Test them all. Don't be generic. Don't do what everyone else is doing. There's wisdom to be had, but take that wisdom and then take those new ideas, mesh them together, and then see what you come up with. See what sticks.
So you're saying it's good to go against the grain sometimes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like I said, there's always wisdom to be had from your professor, from people who have gone before you. But just because they did it one way does not mean you have to do it that way. So take the lessons learned from their mistakes. That's wisdom. Wisdom is having the knowledge, but knowing how to use that knowledge. That's important. We can get that from history. We can get that from people before us. But at the same time, this is now. What do you want to do about it? I would try something new.
I like those answers. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking that. That's a good question.
Ron, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think Hannah did a great job. One of me.
Fair enough. Well, it is. Thank you both very much for coming. Next week will be very different type of classes. They'll be focused on very specific entrepreneurial projects, but I love the answers today, too. It's really good. I think everybody in here got out of it, so thank you very much.